If you're teaching students that the 6 traits are the 6 ingredients to good writing, then you're likely using a rubric to assess the traits, get grades, and give students feedback. However, without training and some know-how, the average teacher simply adds up the levels that students receive per trait, and that's their score. But if you've tried that, students are often doing a little worse than you intended. This video article will walk you through how to convert rubric scores to grades and why you cannot simply add up rubric levels. Let's start with 3 guiding principles that must be followed when converting a rubric score to a grade. And for the sake of an example, let's use a 5-point rubric. So we'll pretend that this is our rubric, our 5-point rubric that describes the criteria for each of the 6 traits. 5, of course, would be the high, and 1 is the low. And imagine, of course, that we have sample criteria written in here. What does the trait of ideas sound like when done well, and voice, organization, word choice? Each of these would actually have criteria described for the levels, including what does ideas sound like when done not so well, at a low level. So these blue lines represent pretend criteria, and we would have this filled out. This is our rubric. So with that as our pretend rubric, let's go over the 3 guiding principles. And the first one is you cannot fail on the rubric. You see, some people look at a 5-point rubric and think, oh, I get it. A 5 is an A, B, C, D, F. No, you cannot fail on the rubric. A level 1 is not an F. It's just above failing, a D minus, a 60%, or whatever percentage is just above failing within your school district. Don't get me wrong, you can fail by not turning it in, but if they turn in the product, then you score it, and the lowest it receives is a D minus. And that leads us to the second guiding principle. You have to honor kids who go beyond the goal. The goal is not a 5. That's not my A. A 4 is my A. A 5 is my A+. If you're thinking percentages, here's your 100%. And what is an A in your district? Is it 95%, 94%, 90%? Whatever it is, that is your A. You have to honor the principles of rubrics. The highest level isn't the goal, it's exceeding the goal. The goal is a 4, 5 is exceeding, and you can't fail on the rubric. A 1 is not failing, it's a D minus. Then, in between are your B's and C's. And here's the third guiding principle. When you are simply adding up the rubric levels that students are earning, you are making all traits weigh equally. And I don't think they should. I think in some assignments, the trait of ideas and organization is worth way more than sentence fluency or voice. And in a first draft, I think conventions should weigh less than in a final draft. We should ramp up their point value. Keep in mind the guiding principle that some traits should weigh more than others in different assignments. So how do you convert a rubric score to a grade or percentage? I want to introduce you to an 8-step process using this rubric calculator developed by Smekens Education. The first step is to determine the percentage value of each of the rubric levels. Using the first 2 guiding principles, we've already got these set for you at 60% for the low and 100% for the high. However, you can simply click and change any of those percentages to honor your own school district's percentages. The second step is to determine which of the 6 traits you're going to score in this particular assignment. Just because there are 6 traits doesn't mean you have to score all 6 traits. It's pretty common to only score 2 or 3 of them. The rubric calculator allows you to put a 0 in the points possible for any of the traits you're choosing not to score. So step 2 is, which traits are you going to score? Let's pretend in one assignment you want to score ideas, organization, and conventions. I'm only going to score maybe 3 traits. And maybe I want to score ideas worth 50 points and organization worth 40 points and convention's only worth 10 because it's a first draft. So that makes the assignment worth 100 points. But it doesn't have to be worth 100 points. It could be worth 25 points. You can make ideas worth 10, organization worth 10, and conventions worth 5. You could make them all equal in point value. And of course, you could always choose to score all 6 traits. For the sake of this example, we're going to do that. We're going to score all 6 traits. But remember principle number 3. They don't all have to be worth the same value. Let's give trait of ideas and the trait of organization and the trait of conventions some more points. And we'll give some value to voice and to word choice and to sentence fluency. I'm saying the points possible in this assignment is worth 105. So those are the first 3 steps. Determine the percentage value of each of the levels, determine which traits you want to score, and give them a set of points. Now you're ready to use the calculator, and that's step 4. You're going to actually input a student score based on your rubric within the calculator. Within our sample here, we'll make the assignment our famous Hoosier report, and for this student, it's John Smith. I am going to click on the scores that John earns for each of the traits. Using the rubric criteria, let's pretend John got a level 3 for the trait of ideas, and he earned a level 4 for organization. He also earned a level 4 for the trait of voice. He got a 5 for the trait of word choice, a 4 for fluency, and a 4 for conventions. Did you see what happened? As I clicked a level 3 for the trait of ideas, it took 80% of the points possible. 80% of 25 is 20. When I clicked on a level 4 for sentence fluency, it took 90% of a possible 10, and it made it 9 points. Do you see the difference between points possible and levels on a rubric? Remember, this tool is just a calculator. It's not the rubric. You have a class rubric. You have the criteria described for each of the traits. All I'm doing on the calculator is clicking on the level a student earned based on the rubric criteria. Now that you've inputted John's scores for the famous Hoosier report by clicking on the rubric levels he earned, click Calculate Grade here in the bottom right-hand corner. Your screen will change, and at the top, it will reveal the points earned out of the points possible and give you a percentage. You could then simply input that point total into your grading system or the percentage, whichever works best for you. The remaining steps and this second screen is all optional. Step 6 allows you to type in trait-specific comments and compliments over here in the window, and step 7 has you push the print button in order to provide students a hard copy. The advantage to step 6 and 7 is you can give students trait-specific feedback so they know what they did well and where they need to work on things. And if you print it out and give them a hard copy, this means you gave them the feedback without writing all over their pieces. The final step is to click Next Student, which returns you back to the previous screen where it maintains the name of the assignment and the points possible, although it leaves open the student's name at the top. You would then repeat this process for every student within your class. The advantage to the rubric calculator is that it helps with some efficiency while honoring the 3 guiding principles of conversion. We don't want to just add up the levels, but we do want to give trait-specific feedback.